Formula 1 returns to the Principality for the 6th round of the 2016 season, and after their impressive showings last time out, both Max Verstappen and Will Stevens are starting to attract attention of teams higher up. Josh Cherry was struggling through Practice 1, Practice 2 and Practice 3, and a crash into the barriers through the swimming pool section late in Practice 3 didn't help matters. Manor and Force India both now have the advantages of the Mercedes upgrades brought to the white car the previous race, with Manor looking to benefit it more, and Force India are now to be knocking on the door of the points positions. Taking a look at the qualifying grid for the Monaco Grand Prix, and it'll be Daniel Kvyat bouncing back to take pole position, less than a tenth ahead though of Fernando Alonso in second for Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton with impressive showing lines up in P3, Jean-Eric Vergne starting 2 thousandths behind in P4. Josh Cherry manages P5 on the grid. Sebastian Vettel returns to his usual qualifying position once again of P6. Stoffel van Dorn finally get the better of his teammate Rio Haryanto to line up in 7th, the Indonesian having to settle for P8. Carlos Sainz with an impressive lap lines up in 9th on the grid, and Valtteri Bottas will round off the top 10 for Mercedes. A disappointing lap from Sebastian Buemi, we see him line up only in P11 on the grid, just ahead of their B team Haas with Romain Grosjean. Max Verstappen managed 13th on the grid, with Pascal Wehrlein impressively up in 14th for Manor. Sergio Perez lined up 15th for Force India, with the second man of Will Stevens also making it through to Q2 to line up in 16th. Then it'd be both the Renaults of Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hülkenberg 17th and 18th, with Alex Rossi disappointingly down in 19th. Esteban Ocon was top from 20th, and once again the two Saubers will round off the grid. Hey guys, Tara here. Welcome back to UniONE, this time round 6 for Season 3. Monaco Grand Prix. If you didn't miss the last race last time out of Spain, definitely go and do check that one out because there's some hectic battling and some major defensive work there in that race. Now looking to this race, great panning shot here of all the cars coming through into the tunnel, and the McLarens saw they went well here last year with Alonso taking their only podium of the season. So now with a much more competitive car, can they go one step further this time? And also what can Pascal Wehrlein and Will Stevens do, starting from just outside the points positions? I mean how fast that Manor is in a straight line. With their upgrades it look to be working well, so could Manor take their first points of the season here? We're going back onto the grid, we've got a few stallers there on the grid, like one of the Renaults and one of the Haas's. So hopefully they can get going before the race starts, so we can have all 22 cars go away for the start of this race and not just have 20 and have 2 out before the race has even begun. But now we're lining up in P5 just behind Jean-Eric Vergne, and in front there of Sebastian Vettel, who really does like P6 this season, but if he wants to defend his championship he's going to have to do a bit better than that. Now coming to the 5 red lights for the start of the Monaco Grand Prix. They've got 5 lights. Lights out and away we go for the Monaco Grand Prix. We actually get a pretty average start. Now coming up, we're going to get a good start of the spectator, but we get boxed in there by Lewis Hamilton coming down into turn 1 to try and keep it. Thankfully they don't make any contact with them. Vergne out wide, now going side by side now with Jean-Eric Vergne out of turn 1. They're going to keep it side by side with Jean-Eric Vergne coming up the hill lobby. It's now coming up now up into the casino section, going to try and go right around the outside now. Oh, Jean-Eric Vergne into the casino section, and try and turn to the inside now. Of course this is where we made contact, thankfully, with Romain Grosjean last season. Thankfully we avoid contact, well, major contact this time. No, force out Vergne, now we're up ahead now of Jean-Eric Vergne, now come down to the hairpin. Vergne spun us, we get completely wiped out there by Jean-Eric Vergne. What was he doing? Going for a complete dive up the hairpin and just completely drives into our rear. That's not a yellow flag. There's a massive pile of cars further behind there, and that's all, of course, thanks there to Jean-Eric Vergne. Trying to make a dive back up the inside of the hairpin, which clearly didn't work. Now taking a look at a replay from Jean-Eric Vergne, this is actually from replay from the start, to see how he got forced out in the first place. And she get a pretty good start there alongside Lewis Hamilton, but they just get boxed in behind Fernando Alonso. Hamilton even giving him a right squeeze there, so Vergne has to give Hamilton the space, runs out wide, compromises his exit. Then we've got us coming up and now alongside the Jean-Eric Vergne coming up now. It seems to actually make a bit of wheel-to-wheel contact there, a bit of wheel banging, but that's perfectly fine to try and fit 2 cars through that section, which they don't really fit. We're just managing to make it fit now, coming through into the hairpin now. You see there, we force out of Vergne, makes a bit of contact with the rear tyre, runs out a bit behind us against side by side with Sebastian Vettel. He can just try and dive it back up our inside and completely wipes us out, and then wipes out himself as well. Really poor driving there from Jean-Eric Vergne. Now looking at a replay of it now from Sebastian Vettel's perspective, this is how he saw it, because the car directly behind. You see there, you see in front there, me and Vergne battling, now coming up into going before the hairpin. You see before Vergne out wide there, now that allows Sebastian Vettel to get up the inside. Now Vergne just turns in, there's a bit of contact there, and then Vergne just goes for a dive up our inside, and Vettel just finds the gap right around the outside. Could Vettel have got any more lucky there? No damage and then getting away with it completely free around the outside. Now taking a look at replay for that carnage, a huge lock up there from one of the Manners. It's going to squeeze into the wall, and that's Max Verstappen very bouncily vibrating his way out of the Monaco Grand Prix. So the finish goes there from one extreme to the other. Second place last time at Spain to being out of the race on the first lap this time. Now looking a bit further on, we've got a whole queue of cars here. We're the ones that have survived, thankfully. Is that Alex Rossi? I was right in the back of the queue of cars. Now here comes everyone else into pits. This whole queue of cars, second half of the grid, pitting on the end of the first lap. And preferably all for front wing changes, this queue led in by Carlos Sainz. No, both the Manners have had to pit as well, so both the Manners are in the pit. So that what could have been a great points haul, possibly for Manor if they survived this carnage. And now half the grid's in the pits. Now one of the other Haas is in, Grosjean. The Manners are in. The Renault, Sauber, everyone, all the second half of the grid is in the pits. And now thankfully the safety car is out, so they will have time to catch back up, but that's pretty much ruined all of their racing. Then I got one of the Saubers actually survived. Ahead there of Jean-Eric Vergne, so could that Sauber be on for points? Could Sauber get their first points of the season from this? So then we got Alex Rossi, Nico Hülkenberg, Esteban Ocon, the other man of Will Stevens, trying to catch up to the back of the pack now, Daniel Ricciardo. Everyone else is still behind now, Sergio Perez as well. Everyone, all the second half of the grid, just get wiped out there in that collision for everyone bunching up. Now cutting onto the end of lap 4, safety cars coming in already, so great work there from the marshals to remove Max Verstappen's car from the track that quickly, given where it was. You can't really get the cranes over there, but managed a way to get the car off the track. Now we're going back to green flag running, and we've got Stoffel Van Dorn right in front of us, and Van Dorn really hasn't caught up to the cars in front. Don't even know what Van Dorn was thinking, giving Bottas about a postcode gap in front. So we've seen Van Dorn really hasn't been on it this season, really has pretty much honestly forgotten how to drive the car. And really has just been underperforming in general. Now we're getting a great run now on the Belgian. They're going to put to the inside now. Oh, Stoffel Van Dorn coming up the hill, coming into the section next and go around the inside. Force Van Dorn out wide now. He made the move up in front there. Oh, the Belgian napping off the restart once again, proving that Van Dorn really just isn't on it this season. And this race just really isn't lacking. May have outqualified his teammate, but he really isn't showing any pace to warrant him being ahead of Rio Haryanto at this stage. Now coming through the tunnel, this is where we need to pull away, because through the first section of the lap we do struggle a bit on traction and overall downforce, but through this coming out to the tunnel, this is the section where this Williams is strongest. As to come out to the tunnel, this third section, much like last season before we got wiped out by Grosjean, this is where we make up loads of time through the high speed section, because this Williams really likes high speed corners, but anything else it just doesn't. Low speed traction zones it really doesn't like them. Now to go purple through the second sector, now that is actually relevant because everyone else since their first lap now, everyone going through the second sector, so we're going faster than everyone in front of us through the second sector on this lap, just pretty much proving how much pace we have through this sector. And under braking, we close up a bit there to Valtteri Bottas in front of us, but enough to warrant an overtake. Now cutting all the way until the end of lap 9, we're still behind Valtteri Bottas. Now we've finally caught on to right onto his rear diffuser there. Thinking of any closer, he may have done Sebastian Vettel into the back of him there. Now going up the hill once again, you see on traction on the exit of the corners, Bottas just pull away from us. Now we've got, looks like the two Ferraris up in front starting to hold each other up. And hopefully we can use this to our advantage, because of course they've been holding up Valtteri Bottas as well, so hopefully Bottas can be worried thinking about trying to get past the Ferraris and not trying to make a move on us. But coming through the section, we don't do a Jean-Eric Vergne and completely plough into the back of Valtteri Bottas. We just have to stay behind for a bit longer. Now cutting away until lap 11, we're still behind Valtteri Bottas. Like Bottas actually pulled away from us slightly there. Now we've got Sebastian Buemi behind us. So Buemi must have got past Van Dorn somewhere, so thought the McLarens might do well here. It looks like they're just dropping back so far at the start of this race. And looking at the two Ferraris, actually got Lewis Hamilton there leading Sebastian Vettel. It looks like Hamilton's actually holding up Sebastian Vettel. So maybe the Ferrari need to do a bit of a switch, swap the drivers around, but of course we've got Valtteri Bottas there right behind, so it's going to be a bit hard to do a switch and not let Valtteri Bottas get past either one or both of the Ferraris as well. So pretty much they're going to have to stick where they are, and Ferrari possibly have to do something in the pit stops if they want to get Sebastian Vettel there ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Of course both drivers having equal status, but if Lewis is holding up Sebastian, then Ferrari should really do the switch to get Vettel in front and try and chase after Fernando Alonso and Daniel Kvyat out front. Talking of Daniel Kvyat and Fernando Alonso, you see on the mini-map there how far ahead their mini-map dots already are, really just showing how much Lewis Hamilton is holding up this queue of cars. We know the Ferrari isn't the best car this season, but Sebastian Vettel does look to be the faster driver at this point in the race over his teammate. Of course both of them world champions, so they both know how to drive. It's just like Vettel can get more of that out of that car at the moment than what Lewis Hamilton can. Now going through the second head, once again closing right up to the back there of Valtteri Bottas, but we're just a bit too far back through the first sector to be able to do anything about it. They're running out a bit wider. The dirty air starts to affect us now on lap 12 because the tyres are starting to go off. Of course, the ultra soft tyres aren't the fastest tyres, so it means they're the least durable of all the tyre compounds available for this season, available for this race. Now you can look to the inside now. Valtteri Bottas still getting up the inside of the thing coming around the final corner. Bottas, why didn't we get ahead there of Valtteri Bottas? We were trying to move there for a few laps, getting up right behind him. And finally this time we were close enough and we were able to overtake there the Finn. So now we can try and chase down Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton in the Ferraris, because we got behind them one time Valtteri Bottas, so it shouldn't take too long for us to catch up once again to the back of the Ferraris. And cutting a bit further on, we have now caught up to the back of both of the Ferraris. Look around the final corner, can try and make a move on Sebastian Vettel down the straight. Of course, Vettel may have the downforce out of the corners, but we've got the straight line speed advantage easily over the Ferraris. I've seen a few times this season, both at Australia and the last time out at Spain. We just power our way past the Ferraris when we get close to them. Of course, Vettel still has DRS on the back of Lewis Hamilton, who's still holding up at this point, so pretty much just as you work, we can't get past Sebastian Vettel at this point in the race. Let's stay behind him once again for a bit longer. This is the frustrations of Monaco. You can be as fast as you want, but if you can't find a way past the car in front, you're not getting past it. And I can just see how far in front Fernando Alonso and Daniel Kvyat already are after only 10 11 laps of this race. So pretty much Hamilton is just backing us all up and causing us this is the fight now for P3. And if any of us want to go to the win, we need to get past Lewis Hamilton. Pretty much now, if we're going to have any chance of trying to take the victory on this race. And we're trying to make a move there up the inside of Sebastian Vettel, trying to get all of his mirrors, and actually lost a bit of time there too. Lewis Hamilton managed to compromise his exit, but hopefully now he'll lose DRS off the back of Hamilton, and then we can try and make a move on him possibly down the main straight. Of course, we're not really a main straight, and really isn't much of a straight anyway, so we have to use everything we can, try and make a move through the corners, much like we did then. Valtteri Bottas getting all up behind Sebastian Vettel now, and Vettel pits. So Vettel pits, so Ferrari doing the undercut there with Sebastian Vettel. Is this what they need to try and get him ahead there of Lewis Hamilton? Bring Vettel in a lap early, try and get him ahead. You've seen there, as I've been saying, Vettel does look to be the faster driver. And it's like Ferrari have actually agreed as well, so they're trying to do the undercut to get Vettel there in front of Lewis Hamilton. Now he's going to come out in the pits. It depends if he gets held up by any traffic on his outlap. Can't see anyone coming down the pits, so I think Vettel's going to come out in some clean air. There's one of the Saubers, but hopefully he can get out there in front of the Sauber, which is going to be pretty close to where he does get in front of them. But just cutting in front of the Sauber there. Looks like maybe now to go on. The Toro Rosso is going side by side with that Sauber now further behind. Can the Toro Rosso try and hold it around the outside? Of course, that's Carlos Sainz because he's the only Toro Rosso left in the race. Like the Sauber make up the inside there of the Sauber. He does have Sainz there being very opportunistic with his overtakes, and pretty much what he needs as well. Assuming that's basically the second race of all the cars that got taken out on the first lap, and now cutting back onto us into lap 15. We'll be coming in for a pit stop at the end of this lap. Still trying to catch there Lewis Hamilton, but just not close enough once again, having to close up to it now. See, as the tyres go off, the advantage comes back to Bottas and Hamilton slightly. You can see Bottas is all over us, and Hamilton has pulled away slightly on this lap. But on the fresher tyres, we definitely have the advantage over both of them. Having to cut the corner slightly, otherwise we hit into the barrier. We turned in a bit too soon, compromised our line, but we didn't really gain any time from that. So now, coming into the pits for our one and only stop, to go into a set of super soft tyres, the red wall tyres to take us to the end of this race. Now we're getting a gust of hit from the Williams too, saying we've been held for Valtteri Bottas. And once again, the Williams pit crew, when it matters, don't give us a good stop, but when it doesn't matter, they give us wildly pit stops. So if you could switch that around, Williams, that would be great. Give us the good pit stops when it matters, and give us the bad ones when it doesn't. If it was a flash of red, so that's Sebastian Vettel Vettel's now going around turn 1. There has Vettel jumped his teammate, Lewis Hamilton. Can't we see there? Vettel has jumped his teammate. Vettel has got the undercut there on Lewis Hamilton. Now we've got Carlos Sainz all over the back now of Valtteri Bottas, and now Sainz, crucially, is splitting us from Valtteri Bottas. Of course, because Sainz pitting on the end of the first lap, he can go a bit longer in this race. So we're going to need to try and make a move on the Spaniard as quickly as possible, as to not get held up behind him and lose time to Valtteri Bottas and to Ferrari in front. Because coming through the hairpin section, there's absolutely no way you can make him move through there. Sainz is on ultra soft tyre, which he's been on since the end of lap 1, so 15 lap old tyre, so Sainz should be pitting pretty soon anyway. Maybe in a few laps time, but now we have the grip advantage over Carlos Sainz, and he should make a move on him quick as soon as possible, not get held up. Now coming into the braking zone, I'm going to go for a dive right up the inside there of Carlos Sainz. That wasn't even a dive bomb, that was just where I was going to brake. Normally, you see we've got so much more grip, so much more confidence on the brakes than Carlos Sainz, so we're able to make the move there up the inside. Maybe Sainz has a bit of damage, maybe a bit of damage that we can't see from all that contact on the first lap. Maybe a suspension damage or something like that to brake that early and leave the gap right at the inside. But now we're up ahead of Carlos Sainz, who crucially doesn't pit, so it's pretty much good that we did get in front there of Carlos Sainz. Now cutting all down to the end of lap 23, start of lap 24. It took us this long now to catch right onto the back now of Valtteri Bottas, so it took a good 9 laps to catch back up to Valtteri Bottas after everything happened. Now coming up to the second tube, we've got virtual safety car deployed, so there must be an incident further back. Don't really know what's happened. Thankfully, virtual safety car maybe, well, it slows everything down so we can get some composure. Now looking at a replay of what happened, it's actually Esteban Ocon with a puncture. Just slams his force engine right into the wall there, and now cutting right onto the end of the VSC. That's the green flag running. We actually closed the gap there to Valtteri Bottas, it looks. So Bottas maybe not getting the jump as he wanted there on the VSC. Now coming on now to the second section, you've got yellow flags up in front. So what's happening there up in front? Yellow flags, green flags, white flags. Like, what are we doing? It's a complete traffic jam up in front. And we're all going at what? 20 miles an hour? What is happening up in front? Actually, this whole queue of cars is going at 20 miles an hour up in front. Now it gets tiptoe away around the final corner. It's like they're coming to the pit, so I don't know what was that. But everyone decided to have a complete car park there around the final corner. Now Sebastian Vettel's behind us, so Vettel's had to pit. Did something happen to Vettel's car through that final sector? I mean, that would make sense, assuming he was the lead of all of these cars. But what happened there to Sebastian Vettel? Looking at a replay of what happened, the Vettel there is going perfectly fine through the final sector. You've got yellow flag, green flags in front. What's that? There's Esteban Ocon in the force engine up in front. Well, Esteban Ocon is completely parking his race line. He's got complete brake fire. So it looks that brake is completely done. Eventually, that brake is completely roasted. And now trying to look his way up the inside. Esteban Ocon is parking it completely on the racing line. And now it's coming to pit. Vettel's have to pit as well.
Oh, for sake! That's what he is.
Okay, you can see there Vettel making his opinion on Esteban Ocon very vocally clear there. And honestly, I have to say I agree with him as well on that. I mean, Ocon there with a puncture and a complete brake fire. I mean, that's Esteban Ocon obviously out of the race. See all the smoke there behind Sebastian Vettel, all that's coming off Esteban Ocon brakes. Well, that brake, you can just see Esteban Ocon is clearly now out of the race. And he just decided to go 20 miles an hour through the final sector and ruin Sebastian Vettel's race, but when he tried to get out of the way, and Vettel tried to go the same way as well. So Esteban Ocon parking it on the racing line. And when Vettel tries to move, Esteban Ocon moves in front as well. So that's pretty much Vettel's race. And then Sebastian Buemi. What's Buemi doing so far down the order as well? What's happened to Buemi? He hasn't done an Ocon, as he got stuck at 20 miles an hour behind someone. Yeah, now cutting onto lap 26. Well, again, we have to cut over that final chicane. If we just keep turning in too early, if you keep turning for corner, that would have been the start of the race. Then we get a good run there on the outside of Valtteri Bottas. Try making a move on the inside of the wheel-to-wheel contact through the final corner. But of course we can't make that move still because of course we're getting a speed advantage there from slightly cutting that chicane, so we have to give Bottas back the position. Now coming on now onto the start of lap 27, Bottas is now starting to fall away slightly from Lewis Hamilton, so in the second stage of the race, Hamilton does look to pick up his pace. Now pretty much that was evident all through last season and actually the season before as well, season 1 back in 2014. In the first stint of the race, Lewis's pace wasn't amazing, but in the second stint of the race, he's really picks it up and pretty much is one of the fastest cars on the track, depending on what car he's in. Of course, because the Ferrari's last season was the fastest car because it won the championship. But it was pretty fast there, but now in this race season so far, the Ferrari isn't the fastest, but Lewis does put on some pretty good laps. We've seen that Australia taking us a P2. It really is outperforming that Ferrari. I would say Sebastian Vettel, to some extent, doing the same thing as well, but Lewis does look to be the better driver overall this season. Thankfully, he just didn't get held up by Esteban Ocon as well. Cutting onto lap 36 or lap 39. Only 3 laps left now in the Grand Prix. We're still stuck behind Valtteri Bottas. And if there's any chance for us going for a podium, then it's not looking likely. But seen last season in the Lotus, when we're going for points in the last 2 laps, made up, 5 positions in 2 laps. So, you know, it's possible, despite us not actually finishing in the points due to a penalty. We crossed the line in P12 there to take 1 point in that race. So anything is possible. We just need to make the move on Valtteri Bottas as quick as possible. See there, we've got a bit of front wing damage. That's probably from... Actually, I don't know what that was from, but thankfully it's not hampering us all that too much. Now coming into the final section, trying to dive now. Up inside of Valtteri Bottas, trying to make the move now around the outside of the fin and get the move there, up the inside, around the outside of Valtteri Bottas. And now we can try and chase down Lewis Hamilton now for the final 3 laps of this race. Great camera shot there of all the cars going through the high-speed section. And thankfully we don't hit the wall this time like we did in practice. I don't know what the Williams boys have done to the car to completely change the setup, it seems. Whatever they've done has honestly completely worked. Now we're already right onto the back now of Lewis Hamilton. Now coming around the final sector, Hamilton maybe up to speed. It looks like we definitely have a lot more speed, a lot more hooked up to the circuit than Lewis Hamilton at this point in the race. Now we've got only 2 laps I think left remaining, yeah. Lap 37, we've got 3 laps remaining now to try and overtake Lewis Hamilton and try and get on the podium. I mean, from the weekend we had, crashing out in practice. Now Fernando Alonso is out of the Grand Prix. Is that Haryanto out of the Grand Prix? There's only 2 laps left to go. What's happened there to Haryanto? Misery there for the McLaren drivers. They've been doing really well this season, really outperforming what that McLaren, well, we all thought was capable of. Of course, still down on power, but having to really manage to get some good results out of that Honda so far. Now look at a replay of what happened. And now so like Daniel Kvyat's actually coming up to lap Haryanto, so the McLaren's really having a nightmare race, really contra to last season. Now coming on the inside, what happens here? So Kvyat just punts Haryanto there into the wall, it seems.
It's all the time, this traffic. How much space I got behind me?
Danny, calm down.
Kvyat clearly not happy with Haryanto, but Haryanto leaving all the space on the outside there, and this gets punted into the wall there by Danny Kvyat, so really much nothing that Haryanto could do about that. I mean, wasn't any more space to leave on the outside. Maybe he could have lifted off, give Kvyat the racing line, but Kvyat had enough space there to make the move, but oh well, 2 laps left to go. I don't even know if Haryanto was in the points. We'll see where Van Dorn finishes, because Van Dorn was the car in front, so if Van Dorn was in 11th, then Haryanto would have been in the points, but with how far down the McLarens were and being lapped, I honestly doubt that the McLarens were in the points. They're coming on to lap 38 now, midway through lap 38. Got 1.5 laps left to go to try and overtake Lewis Hamilton to take a podium finish here at Monaco. There's no way. Fernando Alonso and Daniel Kvyat are completely gone into the distance, and now pretty much has been all race. This is a fight for the podium between me and Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas if anything happens between us. We see we have dropped Valtteri Bottas by quite some way there. Now coming up into the chicane now onto the second to last lap. Trying to make a move now inside of Hamilton. We get to the inside now of Lewis Hamilton, trying to go round the outside of Hamilton, make the same move that we did on Valtteri Bottas, and make it stick round the outside of Lewis Hamilton. Now we're up into P3 with only a lap and a sector of this race left to go. It's getting a bit wide there now as the tyres are starting to go off, because these are the super soft tyres, so they're a lot more durable. But now cutting onto the end of the final lap, Daniel Kvyat amongst the whole queue of cars has now lapped Van Dorn, but now Daniel Kvyat is going to come to the line. And he is, for 2016, Daniel Kvyat is the master of Monaco, winning the Monaco Grand Prix. And should be second for Fernando Alonso. It is second there for Fernando Alonso. Alonso is actually not that far behind Daniel Kvyat in the end, so encouraging signs there for Mercedes that can finally get their act together and finally challenge now from race wins this season properly. Of course, we saw with Alonso taking a race win last time out at Spain, because both Red Bulls are DNFing, so we don't really know how the pace is representative compared to the Red Bulls. Now, coming up to the finish line, we're going to finish now to take a pretty excellent podium finish here at Monaco in P3, with Hamilton actually dropping out quite some way there in P4 and Bottas finishing in P5. And you can see Daniel Kvyat very happy there with his race victory, his 3rd career victory and his 2nd this season, and to win at Monaco, that's something pretty special for any driver, regardless of how many race wins you've taken. Taking a look at the race results, and Daniel Kvyat would take victory and wasn't giving a penalty for the contact with Rio Haryanto, so the stewards must have saw nothing wrong with it. Alonso finishing P2, only 3 seconds off the lead in the end, but I guess that was down to all the lap traffic that Daniel Kvyat was stuck in. We come home in 3rd, almost 30 seconds off of the lead, after being held up by Hamilton for the entirety of the race up until the final lap. Valtteri Bottas will come home in 5th for Mercedes, Sebastian Vettel clawing his way back up into 6th, so decent finish there for Vettel in the end, seeing how far down he dropped after having to pit after contact with Esteban Ocon. Alex Rossi will come home in 7th there for Haas, so Rossi going from 18th, 19th to 7th, plus getting lucky and surviving the first lap, but still pretty good drive there from Rossi to keep it there in P7. Buemi up to 8th, so a bit disappointing there for Buemi, but of course he took victory here last season, but still recovery drive nevertheless. Trying to then recover back up to 9th after punting us out of the way in the hairpin on the first lap. And Ricciardo come home in 10th, get some points there for more decent points there for Renault. And Marcus Ericsson in 11th will take points for Sauber, which now that moves Sauber up into 10th in the constructors with that 2 points thanks to Marcus Ericsson. And then Romain Grosjean will round off the points in 12th for Haas. Now moving on to the driver standings, and now we have an 18-point lead back to Daniel Kvyat, who now moves up into 2nd, 4 points clear. Jean-Eric Vergne now drops down to 3rd, Fernando Alonso now up into 4th, with Lewis dropping down to 5th, Buemi in 6th, Vettel remains in 7th, Bottas now up into 8th, Haryanto drops down to 9th, with Verstappen in 10th, Grosjean in 11th on 14 points, with his teammate Alex Rossi rounding off the top 12 for Haas. And now moving on to the constructors standings, and Red Bull now take the lead once again of the constructors standings. 3 points clear now of Williams in second. Ferrari remaining third, now 42 points behind, and now only 4 points clear of Mercedes, who are in fourth. McLaren remaining fifth, now exactly 100 points off the championship lead, and then nearing the points total now for the whole of last season. I think Alonso scored 35 points, somewhere around there. And Massa scored 5 or 6, and Van Dorn scored 2 or 3. So if they get around 45 points, I think that's the total for the whole of last season. Haas now move up to 7th on 26 points, 6 points clear of Force India, who dropped down into 8th. Renault remain in 9th. Sauber now move up into 10th on those 2 points that Ericsson scored, and Manor dropped down to 11th as the only team yet to score. Again, apologies for all the incorrect colours on the tables this season, because for the first 7 rounds of the season I just mass produced them all one night, and that clearly wasn't a good idea. Anyway, my driver of the day for this race? Honestly, I'd probably have to say Alex Rossi for that drive from 19th on the grid to 8th. No one else really stands out, honestly, except Alex Rossi there. So that's been the Monaco Grand Prix. Thanks for watching. Remember to leave a like if you enjoyed the race, subscribe if you're new, and vote for your driver of the day with the poll link. That'll be either in the description or in the comments. I'll put it in both there, so both the same links, so just click one of them and vote for your driver of the day. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.